Welcome back everyone to this series on working with a React Data Grid by Syncfusion. Last time you saw how to handle the CRUD operations on the server side using the client-side events of the data grid and the fetch API. In this video you will see how to work with the filtering options of the React Data Grid. In my getting started video I showed how to enable filtering options in the React Data Grid. I will recall this by opening the example created in that video. You can get this sample from the link in the description of this video or watch my getting started video at the link in the above card. Here I have loaded the data from your local JSON file and displayed only selective columns using column customization. To enable the filtering option, I have imported the filter module from the EJ2 React Grids package, injected it to the grid component, and then enabled the allow filtering option in the grid. In the output, you could see the filter bar is enabled in the grid and you can filter records using it. But note that some customer ID here has a diacritic character. When trying to filter it using the letters JO, the ID is not filtered. To filter grid records with diacritic characters, I can specify an option in the filter settings property of the grid component. To do this, create a constant filter option of type filter settings model. I can import this from EJ2 React Grids package and set the ignore accent property to true. Next, I will assign this constant to the filter settings property of the grid component. Now in the output, if you type the character JO in the filter bar and press enter, you will see the diacritic characters are also considered during filtering. You can also apply filter conditions during the initial load of the data grid. For this, you need to use the filter operators. Here is a list of built-in operators supported by the grid component. The operators starts with, ends with, and contains can be applied to the grid columns of type string. The operators equal and not equal can be applied to the columns of type string, number, boolean, and date. The operators greater than or equal to, lesser than, and lesser than or equal to can be applied to the columns of type number and date. In this example, I will use the starts with and ends with operators. In the filter settings constant, add the property columns that accepts a array of grid fields where I will add the filter conditions. I will first add a property field and its value customer ID. Then an operator property with the value starts with, and finally a value property with the value j. I will add one more condition where the operator is ends with and the value is n. In the output, you could see the filtered grid rows displaying the customer ID that starts with j and ends with n. Next, I will show the different types of filter menu available in the data grid component. By default, the filter menu will be displayed inline. Apart from this, you can change the type to menu, checkbox, or Excel in the filter settings constant. If you set the type as menu and remove the default filter conditions, the output will display the filter options as a menu. Based on the type of the column, the filter options will be populated automatically in the menu. Now I will change the type to checkbox. In the output, you will see the filter criteria presented as checkbox options. You can filter records by just checking and clearing the checkboxes. Now let's change the type to Excel. In the output, you will see the filter options displayed like Excel's filter options. You can filter records using checkboxes and also apply operators with specific condition. You can also apply different filter types for different columns by using column directive. In my example, now all the columns are using the Excel-like filter, but I want to use a checkbox filter for the ship country column. To do this, I apply the checkbox type to the filter property of the required column directive. In the output, you will see the checkbox filter is displayed for the ship country column and the Excel-like filter is used for all other columns. For the final part of this video, I will show you how to add custom components to the default filter bar so that you can show more than just the text box in it. This can be achieved by using filter templates. First, I will remove the additional filter settings so that the default inline filter bar is enabled on the grid. Now I will add the drop-down component to the ship country column using the filter template property of column directive. To start working with drop-downs, I need to install the package syncfusion/ej2-react-dropdowns. Once it is installed, import dropdown list component from the ej2 react dropdowns package. Create a callback function for the props filter template, and this will return a dropdown list component. To populate the dropdown list with the country's name from the grid's data source, import datautil from ej2 base package. Using the distinct method, I can get the distinct countries from the ship country field of the data source. Set this array to the data source of the dropdown list component. Create a callback function for the change event of the dropdown list component. Now on changing the dropdown list value, I need to manually filter the data grid records based on the selected value. To achieve this, I can bind the data grid source with a state and update it manually. But in this example, I will use a built-in function of the grid component. To access the built-in function, I will get the grid component instance through a reference and using the method filter by column, I will filter the grid records based on the selected value from the ship country column. In the output, if I change the drop-down list, the records are filtered based on the selection of the data grid component. Let me summarize some of the major points we discussed in this video. First, we saw how to enable filtering in the data grid component. Next, we saw how to consider diacritic characters while filtering. Then we looked at different filter operators and filter menu types. And finally, we saw how to add custom components to the filter menu. Thanks for watching this video. If you found this video useful, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.